The New England Patriots just turned into the team nobody in the AFC wants to see in January, and almost nobody outside that building understands how dangerous this is yet. They did not sneak into the tournament or ride luck in close games. They spent the year punching their way to a top seed while finishing with both a top-tier offense and a top-tier defense that travels anywhere. Home playoff game in the cold. Crowd shaking the stadium. A locker room that has already stacked 14 wins and only 3 losses. And at the center of it all, a young quarterback in Drake Maye, who plays like he has been here for a decade instead of waiting for a first taste of the moment. On one drive, this team looks like an old-school bully, lining up with extra big bodies and letting Ramondre Stevenson and Trevayon Henderson slam through light boxes until defenses start to flinch. Then on the very next snap, Drake Maye is ripping a deep shot to Stephon Diggs like it is backyard ball. That balance is what makes them feel so different right now, because they can drag you into a street fight and win by being more physical. Or they can turn the night into a pressure cooker for your secondary when you finally commit to stopping the run. While everyone keeps talking about flashier offenses around the league, the shocking part is that this Patriots group quietly built something scarier. A team that can score fast, slow games down, and lean on a defense with players like Christian Gonzalez, who erase your best options when you are already tired of chasing the scoreboard. What nobody is really talking about yet is the way all of this is tied together by identity, not tricks. Every big play you just saw against Miami and every late season statement win comes from the same idea. Get heavier than you, force you to match that weight, then punish every wrong step when you think run and the ball is already sailing over your linebackers. The rest of the AFC keeps seeing highlight clips and deep balls to Stephon Diggs. But the real nightmare starts in the trenches, where this offensive line, the tight ends, and the backs have turned New England into a team that enjoys contact more than their opponents do. Once you understand how those jumbo looks, those 6 lineman packages, and that downhill attitude really work, it becomes a lot easier to see why even a star like Justin Herbert and a talented Chargers defense are walking into a brutal assignment in Foxborough. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Patriots and all the NFL content. Can we get 200 likes on this video? This Patriots offense looks simple from a distance. Then the closer you look, the more you realize they are playing a different kind of game. They walk out with 6 offensive linemen, tight ends tight to the formation, extra bodies on the line, and it screams power run. But almost every piece on the field is doing something with a hidden purpose. The guards are not just driving people backward. They are double teaming and climbing. The tight end, who looks like a 6th blocker, is already thinking about when he will slip into space. And the receivers are firing at safeties as if they are part of the run fit. It is the kind of look that makes a defensive coordinator feel confident for about 2 seconds, then panic when the ball is suddenly somewhere he did not expect. When Ramondre Stevenson gets the handoff behind that wall, it feels like punishment for the defense, not a normal carry. Duo concepts. Let the line double team inside defenders, then peel off. And once Stevenson gets behind those pads and square shoulders, he turns 4-yard gains into 8 because contact rarely sends him backward. Right. When linebackers start cheating downhill to survive that downhill style, Trevayon Henderson comes in with a different flavor, pressing the same tracks, then bouncing or cutting backside when a defender makes one false step. The crazy part is the numbers behind it, because since late in the year, Ramondre Stevenson has sat at the very top of the league in yards per carry, while Trevayon Henderson has been right near the top group as well. And that is not a volume stat, that is pure damage per touch that forces opponents to load the box even when they do not want to. All of this heavy personnel is not just about bruising people, it is about forcing defenses into a body type they do not really trust in space, then punishing that choice when they finally overcommit. Extra linemen pull bigger defenders onto the field, linebackers creep closer to the line, safeties hesitate between filling the run or protecting the seam, and that hesitation is where the real trap waits. Because once teams decide they are tired of getting leaned on and sell out to stop Stevenson and Henderson, they open up the exact throwing lanes that Drake Maye and his receivers love to attack. And that is where the passing side of this identity starts to look even scarier than the run game. The scariest part of this Patriots rise is that the engine of all of it is a young quarterback who does not blink. Drake Maye walks into the huddle like someone who has already lived through years of tight games, yet this is his first taste of real playoff weight on this stage. He does not play scared, he does not play safe. He attacks space the second he sees it. When defenses sink into zone and try to keep everything in front, that is exactly when he becomes most dangerous, because he understands where the soft spots are, and he has the arm to hit every one of them. You can feel it in the stadium when he drops back against zone looks. Everyone senses that the next throw might rip the whole thing open. What separates Drake Maye is how fast he connects the picture before the snap to what happens after the snap without losing his calm. Safeties roll late, linebackers show blitz then drop, corners disguise leverage, and he still finds answers. One play, Stevenson split wide, running a double move on a linebacker for a sideline shot. The next, it is Stefon Diggs, sneaking behind the second level on a deep dig, right after clear routes have dragged both safeties out of the play. When the rush gets close, he slides, resets, and then layers the ball over trailing defenders to hit Efton Chisholm on the boundary, or drops it down to Hunter Henry, sitting in open grass that did not exist a second earlier. You are not watching a kid guessing. You are watching a passer who knows exactly which window will be open and how long he has to fire before it shuts. All of that becomes a real problem for a defense like the Chargers that leans hard into zone and too high shells, with stars like Derwin James roaming the middle and corners, like Cam Hart trying to ride routes down the field. Those looks are built to take away easy throws and stop explosives, but they also leave seams and hole shots that a confident arm can punish if the timing is right. Drake Maye has turned those same coverages into his favorite targets all season, and now he gets them in cold weather with a run game that already forces bigger bodies onto the field. When you mix that kind of decision-making with the heavy sets and downhill attitude we just talked about, you start to see the full picture of why this matchup gives New England so many ways to attack, and why the game plan for the Chargers defense has to be almost perfect just to survive the opening waves. The wild part about this game is that on paper, the Chargers defense looks like the exact group built to ruin a young quarterback. Yet the way New England is built lets them flip that strength into a weakness. You have real names on that side of the ball, rushers like Tuli Tuipulotu, Khalil Mack, and Odafe Owe flying off the edge, linebackers such as Diane Henley, Denzel Perryman, and Troy Dye crashing downhill, and a star chess piece in Derwin James who can line up almost anywhere. That unit wants you in obvious passing situations where they can disguise looks, mug the line, walk defenders up, and force your quarterback to hold the ball a heartbeat too long. The twist is that this Patriots offense almost never lets you live in those clean downs, because every heavy look, every motion, every subtle shift is dragging that defense into constant conflict instead of letting it tee off. When New England brings the big bodies back on the field and shows that tight, heavy picture, Los Angeles has to respond by matching size or get run over. And that is where Josh McDaniels starts pulling strings. Motion across the formation to make Diane Henley bump his alignment, a fake stretch that forces Khalil Mack to chase down the line, then a naked boot where Hunter Henry sells block and leaks into the opposite flat, while Austin Hooper carries coverage vertically. Now Derwin James has to decide if he is firing at Ramondre Stevenson on play action or falling back underneath Stefon Diggs on a crossing route, and whichever choice he makes leaves somebody free. The same jumbo look that just hammered you with Trevelyan Henderson inside suddenly turns into Drake Maye rolling out with clear vision and easy throws, and that constant shape-shifting slowly pulls the Chargers defenders out of their comfort spots. The corners and safeties feel that stress just as much as the front. Cam Hart and Dante Jackson line up expecting deep zone rules, then see stacks, bunches, and shifts that force them to pass routes off, while their eyes are also tracking the backfield. One snap, they drive downhill to squeeze a duo run. The next snap, that same action pulls them a step inside, while Stephon Diggs bends a corner route behind them, and Efton Chisholm sprints up the sideline into daylight. Linebackers get moved by run fakes, safeties get dragged by clear routes, and by the time they realize the ball is gone, it is already in the hands of a back or tight end who started the play looking like a blocker. Once you see how many answers New England has for each of the Chargers' tendencies, on this side of the ball, the natural next question is simple. What happens when the matchup flips and Justin Herbert has to deal with a Patriots front that can cause the same kind of chaos without even sending extra rushers? The Chargers are walking into this game with a superstar at quarterback in Justin Herbert, but the truth is, he has been living in a storm all year. Protection has broken down around him over and over. Tackles like Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt have gone down, and backups have been thrown into spots that usually belong to Pro Bowl level players. That is how you end up with an offensive line that sits at the very bottom of the league in pass protection and a quarterback who has taken more clean hits than anyone would ever want to see on film. Justin Herbert can handle pressure as well as almost any passer in football, but there is a breaking point when every dropback feels like a race against a free rusher in his face. Now look at what is waiting on the other side. Inside, Christian Barmore and Milton Williams are not just space eaters. They are wreckers who live in the backfield. They win quickly. They split double teams. They walk centers like Bradley Bozeman back into the lap of the quarterback, and they do it without needing help from extra blitzers. On the edge, Harold Landry has had weeks to get his legs back under him. Against an offensive line that has already struggled to sort out stunts and twists, that group can line up 4 across, run simple games, and still look like a blur to players such as Jamari Salyer, who are trying to hold on in a hostile road environment. Every snap where those 4 win by themselves lets the Patriots keep more bodies in coverage and still make Justin Herbert feel like the pocket is shrinking from all sides. The real danger is what happens once the hits start to stack up. Justin Herbert is elite against all-out pressure, but when rushers are arriving from a standard front and hands are swiping at the ball while he climbs the pocket, he has put it on the ground more than he would ever want, and one loose football in a playoff game can flip everything. Cold air, slick turf, a deafening crowd, and a front that is already attacking the weak spots of this protection can turn every third down into a test of survival. And here's where it gets even tougher for Los Angeles, because when the rush forces hurried throws, the next problem is the tight man coverage and physical corners sitting right behind it, ready to pounce on any pass that floats or arrives a fraction late. The Patriots do not just rush well, they cover in a way that makes quarterbacks feel crowded, even when the picture looks clean. Christian Gonzalez takes one side of the field and turns it into a narrow hallway, using length and patience to stay in phase without grabbing. On the other side, Carlton Davis leans on receivers, gets his hands on them early, and forces every route to happen on his terms. Inside, Marcus Jones chases quick slots all over the formation, while safeties like Craig Woodson float over the top, ready to jump anything that drifts into the middle. It is not loud or flashy, it just slowly squeezes windows until the ball has nowhere safe to go. Across from them, the Chargers still bring real threats. Keenan Allen is one of the smartest route runners in football, living for big third downs, while young targets like Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and Trey Harris can hurt you if you give them free releases. Add a big target such as Oronda Gadsden working the seams, and you have a group that looks dangerous on paper, but they have not always created clean separation this year, especially against physical coverage. Now picture that group facing corners who enjoy contact and an officiating crew that rarely throws defensive pass interference flags. That combination lets Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez play as tough as they want at the catch point, knowing they can test the line without dragging this defense into constant penalties. You can feel how frustrating that becomes for a timing offense when the first move off the line is contested and the ball has to arrive along a tighter path than usual. This is where everything ties back into the larger plan we have been building. A four-man rush that speeds up Justin Herbert, a secondary that trusts itself to live in man and pattern match concepts, and officials who let physical coverage stand. All of it gives New England the freedom to be aggressive without losing control. It means Marcus Jones can jump a shallow route on 3rd and medium because he knows help is behind him, and it means Craig Woodson can cheat toward Keenan Allen on key downs while still reading the quarterback. That kind of confidence does not appear by accident. It grows from coaching, meetings, and a culture that has spent the entire year embracing hard football. And when you look at how this staff has shaped that mindset, it becomes clear why the next part of this story is not just about talent. It is about the edge that Mike Vrabel and his staff have baked into this entire roster. This Patriots surge starts with Mike Vrabel, who raised the standard and turned every week into a test of toughness, discipline, and focus, and the entire roster bought in. Drake Maye, Christian Gonzalez, Tre'Von Henderson, and Ramondre Stevenson set the daily tempo with extra work, while veterans like Milton Williams and Carlton Davis reinforce what playoff details really look like, so the team bounces back from mistakes instead of breaking. That mindset matches their on-field style. An offense led by a calm, attacking Drake Maye, and a defense that loves long, physical games and hard downs, which is exactly the kind of profile that usually survives cold nights, loud crowds, and tight playoff brackets against quarterbacks like Justin Herbert and the rest of the AFC. The New England Patriots' biggest edge is not just this matchup. It is that they now look like the classic January team, with both an offense and a defense built to last, able to score on anyone or drag games into the teens without relying on fluke plays, all with Drake Maye taking them from 4 wins to the top of the conference. Their physical run game with Ramondre Stevenson and Tre'Von Henderson can slow down fast attacks like the Texans and Bills. Their play action and deep shots to Stephon Diggs and Efton Chisholm punish 2 deep safety looks that teams like the Chiefs love, and their defense can rush with 4 and cover tight against stars such as Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and C.J. Stroud without constantly drawing flags. That is why this showdown with Justin Herbert and the Chargers in the cold feels less like a one-off and more like the start of a run. Because if New England dominates the line of scrimmage again and Drake Maye stacks more big-time throws, the league will stop calling them a nice story and start asking a different question. Who really wants to be the next AFC team that has to deal with this version of the Patriots when the hits get heavier and the bracket shrinks?